day is they're mucking up the edges, you know, and making you, you know, getting people off the edge to make plays. So you either got to do one or two things. You either got to go lighter or go heavier, you know. And I think we've done a good job of doing both and mixing up both. You know, there's times we're going to go light, go empty at times, and there's times we need to get heavy and get a couple yards, just like at the end of the Baylor game. You know, when they know you're going to run it, you know you're going to run it, and you're able to get 2 first downs to run out the clock, that's when it pays off probably the biggest, in my opinion.
Early in your career and working with this offense,
it's bad.
Would you have had that same mentality, or would you thought, let's just throw it for 5 yards and see what happens?
I'd throw it for 5 yards. I mean, yeah. I mean, there was times I can remember specific games where we got beat because we couldn't run out the clock. You know, you get the ball back and you know you run it a couple of times, and then you're 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and you're thinking, well, I can run it again, and they're gonna get the ball back, or I can try to throw it and get the first down. You know, well, there's always chances with that too. You know, and so being able to grind the clock out at the end of the game is just a byproduct of, you know, of what we're doing offensively, what we're doing up front, and it allows us to, you know, to not have so much anxiety at the end of games when we need to run 4 minutes off the clock or 3 minutes off the clock. We feel like we can get in those heavier sets and go forward and get 3 or 4 yards.
You don't know until you do it in a game, but when did you see it in a practice where you thought this could work at this level and work consistently enough to use in a game, in a key situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do it so much. You know, it's not. I think the problem with people is when they try to do that and they never work on it. You know, and that's probably been our biggest issues in the past. Is we've had those type sets and whatever, but we didn't necessarily focus on working on it as much as we do now. I mean, a lot of our focus is on being physical, and the only way you're physical and the only way you can run the ball is to work on it. The same way throwing the football. But where's the balance at, you know? I mean, you got to work on them both equally enough to get good at them. And so, you know, I mean, I think the key is to keep it simple, you know, keep it simple and then do things that you're good at and that you've been working on. And so, and it helped us then, no doubt, but I do think that we saw it, you know, for the whole camp starting out. I mean, we made an emphasis day one to be physical, and so I think that helped.
Dana talked about how what he's seeing out of Oklahoma State's offense is the remnants of what he built there, and obviously that's an offense that you guys were working hand in hand creating.
Yeah.
So what do you see out of Oklahoma State? How familiar is, I know you don't focus on their offense, but how familiar is what you've seen out of them to what you're comfortable and what you know?
I haven't watched them a lot, to be honest with you, on that side of the ball, but I do think that there's a lot of offenses across the Big 12 that are similar, you know. And so, I mean, it's just a byproduct of what Dana has done for a long time and going back to Texas Tech days and whatever. And I mean, obviously, you know, he was at Oklahoma State for a little while, so I mean, a lot of the base stuff is probably still the same. You know? And so, you know, I mean, it's a lot of inbred going on in the Big 12, really.
On the flip side, can you speak to their defense and what you've noted so far?
Well, I mean, I think that if you look at any defense, you know, when you have back-end guys that are extremely good, then it allows you to be aggressive like they were at times last year, like they've been at times this year. And so I do think that they're getting some people healthy in the back end that they haven't had that's going to allow them to be extremely aggressive. I would expect them to be aggressive. I would expect them to, I mean, they've lost 2 games against 2 pretty good teams. They're pretty similar to us. You know, they got beat by Florida State and TCU. You know, I mean, that's 2 pretty good teams.
Obviously, Quint's having a fantastic season so far up to this point. How much of that is the difference in the play of the offensive line and their ability to protect him a little bit better than they could last year?
I think it's huge. I mean, I think that overall, because when we watch games week to week, we watch the games we played the year before. And I mean, we was watching our game versus them last year. Although we won, how I don't know, but we won. But we wasn't very good. You know, obviously it was his first start and this and that. But I'm not talking about not good at just the quarterback position. I'm talking about all around. There was just, you know, at times we were just not very good for whatever reason. Personnel had a lot to do with it. You know, and I think this year, obviously those 5 guys up front have performed extremely solid. You know. And so when a quarterback has a lot of confidence in his guys up front and has some playmakers, obviously you got to have the players, then it allows you to be, you know, at least perform to your expectations.
Dana mentioned Cody play, and the last couple games he's been able to put together, playing really strong. And what have you seen out of him?
Just that. I mean, I think that he became, and probably because of, you know, Mike and those guys in the weight room, his body looks different, and he's a more physical player. At times in last year, you know, when we had to play guys like Baylor and stuff like that, I mean, I thought that he got out physical at times. You don't see that this year, you know. I mean, he's meeting the physical nature of the game and extending it. So, I mean, I just think he's an older kid, he's a stronger kid, he's more mature, he's more experienced, and that tends to be, you know, to have better results when you play against, you know, especially the upper talented kids, which, you know, the battle we faced last week was a tough battle, you know, and the battle he's going to face this week is a tough battle. And so he's just performed well in every situation we put him in.
Has it helped him at all to have a quality backup in Eli? And the fact
I think
that
so.
Cody Clay doesn't have to play every snap.
Yeah, I think so. Both of those guys, because they're in the game a lot at the same time, and so I think both of those guys help each other out. You know, I mean, Eli's a tough kid, extremely tough kid. But I do think Cody's biggest hurdle was probably gained in the weight room over the offseason. Because to me, his body looks different. He just looks like a different person, you know. And so, I mean, I'll give Coach Joseph credit for that one.
Were you surprised that Baylor played as much man on Kevin as they did, or
No.
kind of just that's the way
That's what they do. You do what you do.
This seems like a lot of teams now are figured out that the only way to stop Kevin White's to interfere with him. I don't know, it was 4 or 5 penalties in the game, I can't remember, but it's not the first game that we've kind of seen some of that kind of action on Kev trying to cover Kevin. Do you think that's a rule that needs changed in college ball, that it become a spot foul more, or you know, so that
It
you
would
don't?
probably eliminate some of the grabbing, because I mean, you know, if you look at it, you know, a 50-yard game versus a, what is it, 10 or 15
15-yard
15-yard game, I'd grab him too, probably. You know?
Exactly.
Shannon,